In California, the search is on for the thieves behind not one, but two new smash and grab robberies overnight. One of them happened at an Apple store in the Bay Area where suspects grabbed more than $20,000 worth of goods. The other in the Canoga Park area of Los Angeles, where robbers assaulted and pepper sprayed a Nordstrom security guard before making off with thousands of dollars worth of expensive handbags. CNN's Camila Bernal is live in Los Angeles following this story for us. And Camila, police are calling these organized shoplifting groups. What's going on here?
That's really the million-dollar question, and in part, some of these police departments don't see these cases as a priority, and at the same time, you're seeing a huge market for these stolen goods. And I'm actually in Santa Rosa in the Bay Area, and in the case here, we know that at least 4 people went into this mall and came out with about $20,000 worth of Apple products. Unfortunately, we're talking about teenagers because the police department here saying they were ages 14 to 18. It happened in the middle of the day with shoppers, with staff, and yet they were able to come out of the mall, get into a car, and get away. Now, in Los Angeles, we know that there are several of these incidents that are also being investigated. The one you mentioned at the Nordstrom, authorities believe at least 5 people were involved in that one of them wearing an orange wig. And so LAPD says they're investigating and says that they're increasing patrols. That's something that we're seeing here in the Bay Area as well. In San Francisco, I saw many officers surrounding the luxury stores because in San Francisco, we're talking about the Nordstrom, the Bloomingdale's, the Louis Vuitton, the YSL, the Burberry, and even places like Walgreens. So this is really a concerning and an ongoing issue here in the Bay Area. The chief of police in San Francisco saying that they will watch hours and hours of surveillance video trying to figure out who these people are in order to make arrests. But then this all gets passed on to the district attorney. And in San Francisco, he is a controversial figure. He is facing a recall, and yet he also says that he wants to hold people accountable, but then adding that it's up to the judges. So it's essentially getting passed on, and in the meantime, we're seeing more and more of these incidents happening as we continue to watch it on social media and on surveillance videos. Jessica?
Yeah, it seems like almost a new one every day. Camila Bernal, thanks so much for that reporting. And for more on these brazen smash and grab robberies, I want to bring in former commissioner of the Philadelphia Police Department, Charles Ramsey. Great to have you with us. Thanks for being here, and happy Thanksgiving. Let's start first. There's been dozens of these takeover robberies in recent weeks. I was just saying, it feels like there's a new one all the time. Why do you think this is happening? What is causing this? Is it something that these kids, these teenagers are doing because it seems like the cool thing to do, or what's causing this?
Well, it's really hard to say what's causing it, but they're very hard to guard against. We had something similar to this happen in Philadelphia a few years ago. We called them flash mobs, where groups of mostly young people would just rush into a Macy's or other large department store, steal as much as they can, and then run back out. We found that these things were being organized on social media, and many of the kids that we locked up had no prior criminal history at all. So what's driving it, I really don't know, but the police need to pay attention to social media. That could be one way in which they're organizing. The other thing is that in many jurisdictions, theft like that just isn't treated very seriously. It's still considered a misdemeanor. In my opinion, when you have organized shoplifting like that, where large groups go into these stores, that ought to be a felony. I mean, you got to crack down on folks that do this sort of thing. It's going to get worse before it gets better.
Right, and on that note, it seems like there doesn't seem to be a consequence in a lot of these situations, or if it is, to your point, it's treated as a misdemeanor, which really isn't acting as a deterrent, clearly. Do you get the sense that there just really isn't enough of a consequence?
Well, it's not enough of a consequence, and we're starting to see more and more of that, where, listen, I understand where, people that are in a store and steal food because they can't feed their families. That's not what this is. I mean, stealing Louis Vuitton bags has nothing to do with your poverty or inability to feed your family or anything like that. It's just flat out theft is what it is. And when people do that sort of thing, they need to have some consequences that they will face at some point in time. It can't be just a slap on the wrist because it affects all of us. You know, these stores just pass on the loss to consumers, and it's going to get worse. We're entering now into the very heavy shopping season, so you're going to see some more of this. So police need to be on guard. It is difficult. But the way we were able to stop it in Philly, we really paid close attention to social media. We reached out to parents to make sure they were paying attention to what their kids were doing because a lot of these young people did not have criminal records. And we actually got calls from parents telling us, hey, you know, they're planning on doing something. And we were able to have people there to stop it.
Yeah, it's very interesting. All right, Charles Ramsey, thanks so much for your insight. We appreciate it.
Thank you.